My sister is going to resent my mother when she's older and I'm tired of trying to prevent it. Warning, long post ahead. The entire situation is frustrating me and I just need to get it off my chest. Some background for context. My parents married and had me pretty young. My 30F mom, 49F Sarah, married my father, 52M Martin, when she was 17 and had me at 19. My brother, 24M Eddie, came when I was almost 6 and our sister, 14F Mary, was born much later. By the time she came, I was already dating my now husband, 32M Walter. We've been together almost 15 years now. My parents separated when Mary was turning 6 and it was a very traumatic event for everyone involved as we were all under the constant abuse of my father. My sister and I have cut contact with him, but my brother still has a relationship with him, albeit strained. My mom interacts with him as little as possible and got married again about 3 years ago. My sister is the only one that fortunately never knew any violence or abuse from Martin. She was too young and he was still very caring of her for it. Eddie was constantly beaten as punishment and my mother and I endured severe psychological abuse from him until their separation and a little bit after, too. Those were hard years, but we all got over it. Despite being a victim herself, my mother also had her own form of abuse on me. For as long as I can remember, she has made it her mission to raise me into a perfect child. Perfectly obedient, perfect grades, perfect sister, perfect daughter, granddaughter, niece, you name it. My infancy and adolescence were made of emotional repression, anxiety, and people-pleasing to avoid meltdowns and abuse. As a result, I was always very well behaved, had good grades and never caused any trouble at home. Today I finished college, have a good job and a relatively comfortable life, but the abuse from both parents has left me emotionally repressed and emotionally fragile as well and extremely socially anxious. I have been to therapy for this and have both cut off Martin from my life as well as openly confronted my mother and set many needed boundaries I wasn't ever allowed in my youth. Today the two of us have a good relationship and mutual respect and she's changed a lot in regards to how she interacts with me. My siblings like to say I am the favorite child because she tends to listen to me more and treat me as more of an equal. My brother on the other hand, wasn't raised like this. My mother favored him a lot and the rules that applied to me did not apply to him. Much of the burden of caring for him was passed to me as we got older and my mother seldom punished him, if at all for misbehaving much worse than I would have ever dared. My brother didn't like school, had groundings cut short, had terrible grades and even failed 1 year at school with no measures taken or any consequences applied from my mom's side. Martin would beat him when he misbehaved, but my brother had long stopped caring about it and thought the punishment was very worth it if he got to do as he pleased. As a result, Eddie weaponized his incompetence and was never expected to help with chores at home or even with my sister, of which the entire responsibility fell onto me until she was 5. This resulted in him being irresponsible, reckless, and also emotionally damaged. He was also addicted to computers and still is to this day. Today he is engaged, has a kid and a good job, but this positive development is very recent and before that he gave my mother a lot of trouble. He didn't want to work, lied about everything and even abandoned jobs completely. He was kicked out of the house twice and our mother was losing hope and trying to rely on me to fix things, which I shut down pretty fast. She had given up when things started working, but his behavior through the years has left her thinking that my sister will follow in the same footsteps he did. That's where my frustration comes in. Despite being a handful when she was little, misbehaving, normal child stuff, Mary has always been very kind, very smart and a very good kid. She's respectful, studious, she's very affectionate and both me and my brother have a great bond with her. We feel very protective of her as well because we don't want her to go through any kind of injustice or abuse the way we did. Unfortunately, Mary has also gone through her own rough path. As I left home and went to live on my own and later with my husband, my mother had to rely on a lot of family help to be able to support my siblings and build her life back up after the separation. This included mostly my aunt, 53F, Erica, and both of my grandmothers, one of which, 72F, Diva, lives with Erica. My aunt has no kids and isn't married. She helped raise one of our cousins, 28F, the only kid from my now deceased younger aunt, who's now married and out of the house. From my sister's 6 years of age until very recently, my aunt has been very hands-on both on her education and overall upbringing. The thing is, my aunt is even stricter than my mother ever was on me. My cousin has some horror stories of her own, but my aunt feels like you're serving the army. She thinks kids these days have no brain, are being destroyed by TVs and cell phones and must be ruled into being decent contributors of society with an iron fist. Extreme obedience. No TV. No cell phones. Study all day, do all house chores. Stop reading books all the time, go do something else. Extracurricular activities you're not interested in or want, but I'm paying for and you'll have to do and be grateful for. Why aren't you happy? Don't cry, stop being weak. Shut up and don't talk back to me. Don't like it? Meltdown. As my mother tried her best to rebuild her life, my sister's upbringing was mostly left at the hands of my aunt. My mom had a patch of being financially dependent on her and my aunt has always helped, so even to this day she's hesitant to confront Erica about the way she treats my sister, which is extreme to say the least. As a result, Mary has learned that expecting our mother to defend her or come to her aid is futile and has instead come to seek help in me and now my brother, too. As my aunt's abuse got more and more ridiculous, I have finally managed to convince my mother to let Mary change schools so she can stay at my house during the day instead of at my aunt's. My husband works from home and the both of them have always got along great. I have always intervened for my sister whenever I can. I argue with my mother, convince her she's being sometimes too harsh or too unreasonable and remember her that she's punishing Mary for things Eddie did when he was young. My mother and aunt are so scared Mary will suddenly turn into my brother back in the day, that they're preventively taking away from her anything they deem responsible for his bad behavior instead of realizing the fault lies entirely on his upbringing. Mary is being restricted and prohibited and leashed from all sides, despite being nothing close to a troubled child. I've been trying, now along with my brother, to show my mom that it doesn't need to be like that, but this fear still persists and a bad day for my mom can sometimes take away freedoms my sister has without any prior reason. I have told my mother countless times that one day Mary is going to resent her, just like she resents our aunt right now. But it seems like she's not listening and I'm tired of trying to keep it from happening. My sister has improved a lot staying with us since February. She seems happier and seems to be getting away from what seemed like a massive depressive downward spiral. We have rules for her, we have structure and everything a teenager needs, but we also listen to her and encourage her interests and try to get her engaged with things she likes whenever we can. But my mother doesn't think that's enough. She keeps taking her phone away even though she can't use it at school or when I'm not home. She keeps forcing her to exhaustively interact at family functions, even though there's no one near her age for her to connect to. She keeps saying my sister is a zombie with no interests beside her phone even if it couldn't be further from the truth and despite me trying to show it to her every chance I can. I'm tired. I can only do so much. I'm not her mom, I don't have the authority to do a lot of things. But my sister is going to resent her and the future is much closer than my mom thinks. And I'm going to let it happen, because I can't keep telling my sister to try and understand where her mom is coming from when even I can't do it anymore. My mom is not a bad person. She needs therapy and maybe a diagnosis, and to stop listening to what her sister says. But I'm not going to keep trying to constantly keep her relationship with my sister from being damaged. I think she deserves some consequences from her actions.